Hello, and welcome to another episode of Real PR. Today with me, Lauren Roberts. We've got a lovely guest on today who's a good friend of Scott Media, Anita, and I'm going to let Anita introduce herself to you.
I'm Anita Jaynes, founder of the Business Exchange, and I produce business magazines for Swindon and Wiltshire and Bath and Somerset. Alongside that, we have dedicated business news websites for each area, and we host networking events and awards.
Lots going on.
It's busy. Keeps me out of trouble.
Absolutely. So I think I was looking back and it's been sort of December 2021 was the time that you came on the podcast. So we're getting on it'll be 5 years this year.
Yeah, wow. And a lot has happened in those 5 years, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Talk to me first about how, for you businessly, that's not a word, business-wise, how that's changed for you over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think that the media landscape has continued to change in the last 10 years. I think content marketing has become king above everything. And so where we used to have lots of branded adverts, that has moved. And so you've had to move with the times as to what do we fill our magazines with? How do we keep a model going in the way that people want it to nowadays, and to make it profitable? So back, I guess, in 2021, I wouldn't have had TBE VIP, which is a membership model so that we can support people throughout the year with stories that they're sending in to us, because obviously there's a cost for me to run them on the websites as well as the magazines, that there's got to be a way that we can make the business work and I can get people paid. So that has really grown, and we now have over 170 members, and it allows us to update our websites daily. It allows us to give them space in the magazine, and it helps us as well in turn run the stories that we really want to run, that are really integral to the business community as well. It paves space for that. So it's been really amazing how that has taken off, and how you never know when you're doing something new how it's going to work out. But it was definitely been the way forward, and it's been interesting in terms of the industry. I can remember a couple of years ago now listening to a podcast with other professionals, actually more in the B2C space, but how they were trying to monetize their platforms, and it was very much doing it in the same way through memberships and added on pieces, whether it could be that for them it might be that you get discounted products, but that wouldn't necessarily work for me. But it would work in terms of discounted events. So all of our VIP clients get 25% off our shows and for our networking tickets. So it's just trying to make it work in the modern world, really.
Were the shows running back then, or is that something that's come on? I think that's new, isn't it?
The whole world has changed TBE-wise, I guess, in some ways. So when I launched the business, which will be 13 years this year, we started with the Swindon and Wiltshire magazine, and then the website launched pretty much at the same time. And then a few months into that, I launched the Bath and Somerset website, always with a view to launch the magazine, but I didn't want to walk before I could run. And it was probably 3 years in, that I launched the Bath and Somerset magazine. And the Bath and Somerset magazine is 10 years old this September. Wow. So I need to come up with a bit of a plan for that. But as the business has evolved, it's never been... it's been organic, and it's been all about listening to what people want, rather than me just coming up with an idea and running with it. So this year, for 8 years, we would have been running our charity conference and expo. That's grown from 100 people in a room at the Apex Hotel in Bath to an annual event at Bath Racecourse that draws 500 odd people from across the country. We get people from Manchester, London, Plymouth, all over the place. And that has really grown, I think, because it's affordable. So SMEs that want to work with the third sector can afford to take a stand. Attendance is free. And in terms of the seminar sessions, they're all free for both charities and businesses to attend if they wish. And the stand price is affordable. And so many that are based in London are so expensive that I think it's just been something that's just grown because not just that the price point was right. We've got great themes every year and we've had some amazing speakers. And not only that, I think that the Southwest is such a hotbed for the third sector and is a leader really. And it's great to fly the flag for the Southwest as a leader in that sector. And there's some amazing charities. And I think the last few years, more than anything, they've really needed this event to support them because it's just been so tough. We were lucky the pandemic year that we actually hosted the event before we all went into the lockdowns, and we were all sat thinking, oh, it's a Chinese flu, we've seen this before, it's not going to turn into it. And we saw what happened. And I think there was some support money around at that time, and a lot of people were trying to be innovative of how that they could fundraise through the lockdowns, and that's great. And charities might have had some savings in the bank, but that dwindled. And so really 21, 22, 23, now it's all still that recovery. How can we do things differently to grow our donor base and to meet new audiences? And the event space has definitely got bigger, I guess, in some ways. A lot of people are trying to do events, whether they're good or not is one thing, but I'm very much aware that there are more events around now than say there were 2 years ago. So the charity conference would have been pretty much in its infancy, I guess, when I last came on the podcast. And I wouldn't have had the TV show that launched a few years ago. And that is really growing. We started it at Bath Racecourse because I knew the space. And I was approached by the team at the University of Bath School of Management. And we hosted it there last year, and we're back this year. And it's really all about growing and supporting SMEs in the region and putting on a show that connects people in a really natural way. And I'm looking forward to hosting that again this September. So different strings to my bow, I guess. So we've got the 2 magazines now for each area, which are quarterly. When we started, it was bi-monthly, but I've changed the model up with this membership model with the events so that they very much support one another. And also, I'm not going to lie, I had a baby 2 years ago and I wanted to create a business that worked for me. And it seems to be so far. I've got to keep keeping on. But yeah, that was the thing for me. It's very hard when you're going to print all the time. You're always on a deadline. You're always trying. I think people don't understand. You do because of the nature of what you do, but actually, trying to pull together content. Yes, you can have a written article. It can be ready to go. Then you can't get the picture that you want to go with it. Then a picture that you thought was the one comes over and it's low resolution and you can't print it. It's just the things that people don't necessarily think about that take up so much time.
Yeah.
And even things like listings, gosh, that's a job in itself. And yet it's something that's really so simple that I don't think people realise how labour intensive a media business is to get it right. Yeah. Especially one that's intricate with lots of different parts of it, I guess, to make it a successful business.
Yeah, and you've not just got sort of the print side, you're on multiple platforms for that. So you're not just managing literally printing something for people. That content is also going online, and then you've got sort of very active on social media too in sharing that. So yeah, I can imagine that you're saying sort of the labour intensive with the printing side, but that comes with all aspects of it, I suppose, doesn't it?
I mean, the websites in themselves, it's busy keeping those updated regularly, and to make sure that we're running really good content, and especially if we have got VIP clients and regular campaigns clients working with us, that we are running content for them, and that it's up timely and all of those kind of things, that you want to do a good job. And I always say, you're only as good as your last magazine, you're only as good as your last event, that you've always got to do a good job for people. And I think that the reason I still have a business is because I care about my clients, and I really try and nurture them and make a campaign work for them. And I think that hasn't happened in some media, where the teams have been too big, they've been a bit disconnected, the support hasn't necessarily been there. Some cheaping out has happened in terms of sending artwork to other countries to be set. And so, the quality control hasn't been there. And I don't want to say this, but we don't print pixelated images, and I don't want to. Nobody looks good when they're fuzzy.
No.
And
It's a pointless act. Don't do it. Don't send fuzzy pictures.
and it's that kind of thing, I think, that has kept me in business. It's the attention to detail and looking after people. And it's the same across all of the different things I do. It's just listening to what people want, and making sure that you're producing a product that they want to read, an event that they want to attend, and you're listening to what's missing in the marketplace as well.
Yeah. In terms of content then that you like to receive, if we've got somebody listening who's a business in the areas that you cover, can you give maybe 2 or 3 tips of things that they should be thinking that you're going to want to listen to and what you're going to want to print as a story?
It's a really interesting one, because quite a few firms will think that they have a really good story, that they're a growing business and they've launched this new product and it's amazing. And then you look at it and you think, well, it's actually quite similar to what the next person is doing. And what they're actually sending you is a bit of a puff piece. It's a sales tool, and that's not what we want to be printing. I think the stories that people are really interested in and that I want to print are always human stories. Tell us what you're doing in your business that's different because of you. What's your story? What makes you unique? And it very often is your people and the way they do things that make you successful. And you could have a competitor that's doing exactly the same as you, that a journalist is noticing and saying, yeah, this is a sales piece, and they delete it. But if you tell us those people stories, that's where the magic is.
Absolutely. And we're always trying to pull those stories out from clients to say, this is what people really want to know about you. And I guess you've embellished on that a little bit further in terms of the awards that you run. So you're recognizing those different areas and those good stories that people have with your awards. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I launched the Techies, which were tech awards for Swindon and Wiltshire some time ago. And they ran for 6 or so years, and they were really successful. And they were launched at a time when I could see from the stories and the people I were talking to in the community were a lot of tech businesses. They were doing some really innovative things in the marketplace, and they didn't really have a space to shout about them. And I thought, there's something here. I launched Tech Awards for Swindon and Wiltshire. And with the 2 territories I have, it wasn't Bath that was having these businesses that were appearing. It was Swindon and Wiltshire time and time again. And I, at that time, went to what was the Swindon and Wiltshire Local Enterprise Partnership and told them about my plans for the Techies. And they got behind the awards as a headline sponsor and sponsored me all the way through until the SWEP was devolved. And I am really proud of those awards and the businesses that we shone a light on and the individuals during that time. But as things were changing, we knew the LEP was changing. I thought, what can I do now? And I also thought, from emails that I'd received, from conversations that I'd had, that people were genuinely saying, does the Business Exchange run awards that cover Bath and Somerset? Does the Business Exchange run awards that cover all types of businesses, not just tech? And the answer was always no. And I think my flavour of doing awards, I guess, is a bit different to what else is out there. We're not black tie chicken dinner. It's all about great networking. You're not stuck round a table with the same people all night. And we are all about telling the stories on the night. So instead of it being a this is, that was, we say this business was nominated because of the amazing things that they're doing in the community. They're being recognised because of this innovative product. And so everybody in the room on that night gets to learn about the amazing things that are happening in our community. And the awards really do shine a light rather than it being a this is, that was, and nobody really understanding why somebody was nominated and why they won. So the TBE Awards emerged, which was covering Bath and Somerset and Swindon and Wiltshire. We're going into our third year this year, and it's just really exciting how it's grown in a short space of time. So I can't wait really to launch them in April. And it will be 13th of April that we open for entries again. And the idea with the awards was for them to move around a bit. So this year we hosted them, so I'm going to get my years confused now. Last year we hosted them at the National Self-Build and Renovation Centre in Swindon. And the first year of hosting them, we hosted them at Cumberwell Park in Bradford and Avon. So a Wiltshire venue, a Swindon venue, and this year we're going to Bath.
Lovely.
So the idea is that through the business exchange, we are joining up Bath and Somerset and Swindon and Wiltshire in a way that nobody else is doing, because I feel that those patches need to work together to succeed, and perhaps they don't work together as much as they should.
Do you find much crossover? Obviously, you're getting a lot of content from business owners in all of those areas. Do you find any sort of crossover between them operating within those areas?
I think, yes, in terms of the products or services that they offer, yeah, and they very much want to grow in the Southwest.
Yeah.
I think there can be a bit of snobbery sometimes, and a bit of, what's the word? I'm used to working with these people, and I'm so used to doing that it seems a bit unnatural to move a little bit further afield. And it's trying to get people to think outside of that box and go, actually, I need to grow my network. And it's not just within the walls of this city. Where else can I build a business, and where is the work? And getting people from Bath, for example, to look to Swindon if they wanted to grow their business. We know that office space is more affordable in Swindon, that if you perhaps have got an office in Bath, you're wanting to perhaps move up the M4 corridor, why not consider Swindon as a great place to grow your business? So for me, it really is getting people to think about the patch, what's exciting about it. Wiltshire's huge. There's loads of opportunity, and there are loads of smaller businesses as well that are doing amazing things, that are growing, and quite often they're not heard of because they've got their head down. And so things like the awards and the magazines are really there to uncover those. And we can say now that we're Bath and Somerset and Swindon and Wiltshire's only dedicated business-to-business magazines in print and online. And it's quite sad in some ways to say that, as much as I'm lucky I've got the monopoly, I don't think of it in that way, because it is sad that the media has crumbled. And I think that's why more than ever we do need media to exist, and for it to be a media that's ethical and does print the right stories as well. And yeah, it has been a very tough time for the media industry. I'm not saying that it's not been hard, but I think if a small business like mine can be profitable, why can't some of the larger firms? Yes, I can be cautious and I can scale up and down quicker, I guess. But yeah, I just think that there's something that's been missing, and perhaps it's the personal touch in in media, that there's always been, you needed, really. You'd have that local journalist that you got to know,
Yeah.
then they'd all were pulled from our area, so we haven't got those go-to people anymore. The relationships aren't built and the trust isn't there.
And that's something that we obviously try really hard at Scott Media to try and facilitate. You know, we build those relationships for us, and then we can pass on those good stories from our clients. We're finding it hard to sometimes, people don't realise they've got a story. That we often hear, I've got no news, I've got nothing, nothing going on, or things like that. But there's always a good story that we can pull out from different people in different areas.
It's having that confidence, I think, in some ways, to know what's a good story. And sometimes people, oh, really? That's a good
That's
story?
just talking about themselves, and that's what people want to hear about. So for you personally, you mentioned earlier there that in the middle of all of that, you've had a little girl.
Yes.
How has that changed how you're running your business?
I think it's probably made me, or it has made me, think about my time a lot more and how it's spent. So I don't do all the networking that I once used to do. And has it had an real impact on my business? I make sure that I go to the things that I know I really should be at, and I should be supporting people. But I think everything is done with intent, and I'm trying really hard at every element of the business. When I sit down in front of my desk in the morning, what do I need to achieve today to bring my business forward? What do I need to do today to support my clients? And yeah, I think previously perhaps you just kind of drift a little bit, or you kind of might be guided by a busy inbox or those kind of things. And I just know now I can't, because I have less time to get things done. And with Honor, it's hard because she wakes up early, and I've always been an early riser, and I could get a really good bit of work done when everybody's still sleeping between 5 and 7, and that isn't a luxury anymore that I have
for you.
And it's useless as well, because my brain doesn't work in the evenings. So I know after 5 o'clock it's wine o'clock, and my brain just doesn't work.
Fair enough.
So yeah, it's trying to make that work for me. So I know that my productivity is in the morning. And so it's fitting it around nursery. And luckily I've got my mum who supports me 1 day a week as well. Otherwise, it would be really tough. But yeah, it is a juggle. It's a different mindset. It is, as I say, thinking about everything with intent, which is good in a lot of ways, but it can also give you pressure. And I don't know whether you found that, because the whole time you're always sticking to a list, and I've got to achieve this today. I've got to achieve this today. And sometimes it's quite nice if things happen organically and you're given that space. But yeah, it's tricky. I think there are ways that it's probably improved my business, and there are ways that I kind of feel perhaps a little bit hindered by it.
Yeah.
But
I struggle a bit with my productivity. I think I was very much a flitter. If I've got sort of the focus for a few hours, I would get the work done and then, fit that around. But you can't do that when you've sort of got childcare to stick to and certain working hours. I'm the opposite to you, actually. I'm a night owl, so I work best once everyone's in bed, but they've just gone to bed, so I can be up until silly o'clock. And then when you've got someone waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's like,
I need my bed.
I wish I hadn't been working until midnight last night. People will often email me and say, why were you messaging me at 10:30 last night? Because that's when I'm most productive.
But isn't it nice that we actually know how our brains work and we can work to that, and that we're working in a flexible environment where we can?
Absolutely.
Because if you were working a 9 till 5 in a job and you knew that you kind of couldn't use those hours to your best ability, it is hindering. And it is great that you can kind of get the best out of it by working in a flexible workspace.
And I find that talking about it, so I tend to talk quite a bit about things like that on my LinkedIn. I've actually found, surprisingly, and some people might be thinking, I don't talk about my personal life on LinkedIn, that's for Facebook. I very much think it's actually a nice mixture to post some personal bits like that. I've made connections then with people based on the experiences that I'm going through. And people were like, I didn't know that about you. I wouldn't have known this. And that's, I think, where the interesting part's in. And that's where we can pull the stories out from people just by sharing a little bit more about themselves.
I think so. And it's just that natural conversation, and to not be afraid, I guess, of sharing personal things, and how an experience has changed the way that you work or the way that you do things. And I think, yeah, we just need to be a little bit more real.
Yeah. In a world that's very quickly becoming not ran by robots, but they're certainly taking over a little bit more in terms of the content that we're consuming, aren't they?
I think AI is a great thing and a lazy thing at the same time. I think we all know which posts on social media are AI driven, and I think we know the ones that are from the heart. And it could be that you've written a post that is from the heart, but you've used AI to make sure that there's no spelling mistakes. And I'm not going to criticise anybody that's done that. Actually, I've used AI and gone, you know what, let me just check. This isn't coming naturally to me today.
Yeah.
Will this help me structure something a bit differently? I think we can use it to make our time more efficient, but we can tell when it is computer driven. We get a lot more emojis, don't we? And all of those kind of things, which is not the way we talk. Well, actually, some people use emojis a lot. But I think you would know it wasn't me if it was littered with emojis, because I'm not really an emoji person.
I sometimes use too many emojis, absolutely. But not the ones that you sometimes see being chucked out. The rocket emoji has never been one that has popped up in my conversations. So
My
it's not
monkey
one
and
that I would
hands one is my favourite one.
I like that one. I've also got I tend to use the laughing one with the crying eyes a lot.
That's a good one.
So I try not to overshare that in any posts. So for you in the business then this year going into 2026, what do you see? Sort of, have you got goals for this year that you're looking to work towards?
Yeah, I think I don't want to grow the business anymore from what I have. It's just doing a really good job and making sure that we are strong in the marketplace and that we continue to be that way, and that the activities that I've built, like the awards, continue to grow. In terms of the TBE Awards is kind of a new thing, I guess, of heading into a third year now. For the first 2 years, we had entries from across Bath and Somerset and Swindon and Wiltshire. Tick, that's what I wanted to achieve. Did we have entries from businesses of all sizes? Yes. Did we get enough entries in all categories? Yes. Did I want more? Absolutely. Did we have businesses, as many businesses that were in the, say, 65 million plus category? No, we got those this year, which is brilliant, because we want those larger businesses that know that they have to have a relationship in the local community to grow, because it's great in terms of if they're trying to grow, say, their office space and they want to put in planning permission to grow their building, they need to have a relationship with the community. If they're trying to employ more people in the community, people need to understand who they are and what they do and what's great about them, that they're sustainable employers, for example. So it's not about just helping SMEs grow and tell their story. It's about that from startup all the way through, how you can use awards and the coverage that you get in local press as a real opportunity to grow your PR.
Absolutely.
And to grow your brand's reputation in a positive way.
And then we've got all those different platforms that they can then be featured on for that. You know, we can cover off everything, can't you?
Exactly.
Lovely.
It's trying to link it all together in a good way, so that people are getting great coverage and we're telling their stories. And it's growing, I think, just what we have in a nice kind of plodding on kind of way, and making the most of what we've built over time, really. And we'll have to have a party this year as it's 10 years of Bath.
Exciting. Well, it's been lovely to talk to you, Anita. Thank you for
Thank
having me.
you.
How can people get into contact with you if they want to take part in one of the many things that they can across Bath, Somerset, Swindon and Wiltshire?
You can
forgot where I am then.
You can email Anita, ANITA, at tbesw.co.uk.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Real PR. I hope you've enjoyed listening to my conversation with Anita today. If you want to get hold of us here at Scott Media, it's scottmedia.uk. Fiona and I are both very active on socials and you can find us everywhere. Thank you.